You're listening to Inside the Techosystem, a podcast bringing you fun and insightful topics about tech and its ecosystem in Nigeria. I'm Emmanuel and I'm joined by my co-host Chuka. Hey Chuka.
Hey man, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode once again. Hope everyone is doing great. Hope everyone is doing fine. Emmanuel, how's it been, man? What's good? What's up with you?
Pretty okay. Everything has been the same since, nothing new.
How are your guitar lessons going?
It's been tough to keep up, but we move.
Man, that's all right. That's all right.
How about you?
Man, nothing much. Actually, nothing much. Nothing at all. Actually, I'm just here, just hanging around. You know, the day just comes by and floats away. I really need to start, doing something different because it feels like an endless cycle of repetitions these days. Like, that could be really tiring. You get?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this episode, we have a special guest. I mean, all our guests are special, right? So his name is John Ayeni, and he's a software engineer. He's into design and front end and all things about user interfaces. So, hey, John, would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Hi guys, my name is John, just like the hosts have said. My current role at work is in front-end engineering, but I also design. I also do some stuff on photography, and I'm a big fan of basketball.
Oh, cool. What an intro. That's a lot of geeky stuff in one person. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think all of us right now on this episode have a combination of those. Chuka and I both like basketball, and now John too likes basketball.
Sorry. Just to be clear, John, what team do you root for?
I'm waiting for the Golden State.
Warriors. Why?
So
Why?
we're
Why?
hoping to do well next season.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this
That's
season
all
has
right.
been
That's all
really
right.
awesome, but now the finals are just boring because we all know that Lakers are taking
LBJ.
taking the cup. Yeah. So as our custom is, as our culture is on this podcast, we like to ask our guests if a first question, and you get to hear the last question. So the first question goes like this: if you were not in tech, what would you be doing?
If I weren't in tech, I would be a comic artist. I think one of the very first interests I picked up in like basic school was drawing. So I've always wanted to be a comic artist. Will still be, hopefully. So yeah, if I wasn't in tech, I would probably be a comic artist.
Wow,
That's sick, man.
as in that's really cool. Like at least outside tech, you're still cool.
Yeah, but like, do you think comic artists get paid in Nigeria? Like, do they make their paper?
So the comic industry in Nigeria is still like a growing one. So I think that's funny enough. One of the discouragements I got early on was that it was hard making a living as a comic artist in Nigeria, except if you are staying in like the States or in other countries. But yeah, I think there's a future in that department, like in the country. So hopefully it continues growing.
Mm. So right now, a comic artist has to feature in the future because right now isn't so great. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, some of us, I think for me, we might know that outside tech, I'm probably like, I don't know what I'll be doing.
Emmanuel, don't give out your secret.
But yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. Okay, so this episode, we just wanted to talk a little bit about design. I know in Nigeria, not a lot of people understand how important design is to tech. People only think of design when they think of user interfaces or just fine stuff, right? But we know that it's deeper than that. We have designer friends who, laugh at us when we talk about design because we don't know so much.
They know we know nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. So we just wanted to shed some light on design and development, like the combination of the both of them. So what do you think people don't know, like the general public? What don't we know about design that designers know?
Okay, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about design is people just think that design is using Photoshop to design something like maybe a poster or designing a user interface. But design is a lot more deeper than that. There's design of systems. Design basically is like drawing out a blueprint or how something should work or how it should feel when it's being used. And then where development comes in is actually taking that design and bringing it to life. That's why design actually cuts across like a lot of aspects. In the tech system, design is
In the
actually
Techosystem.
yeah. The tech system you could bring. Okay, so let me say for maybe this discussion, we could talk about design in the context of software that people use. I think it could be broken down into two. So there is the designing the user experience and also designing the user interface. You would ask what's the difference between that, because you see a lot of job postings that say we need a UI UX designer, but in much larger companies like these roles are very very different because they do two different things. A user experience designer would say, oh, how easy should this user sign up be? Would say, okay, we want the user sign up to be just a click of a button. You don't need to fill more than three forms. You get. But a user interface designer will now say, okay, this is what the user experience designer has said. How do I put this into picture for people to develop? So after those two processes have been done, is where the developers will now say, okay, they've designed the user experience. This is how it should work. This is how it should look. Now let's bring it to life. I think that's like a short description of the whole process of how design and development work together.
Wow, that's insightful. That's a lot. So, like we said, we don't know anything, and now John just proved it. Like I didn't know all these things.
Hey, John, I wanted to ask, what did you pick up first? Was it design or development? Because I know you code and you design.
Um, I would want to say development, but I think I actually picked up design first. So when I was younger, my siblings had like computers. So I think one of the very first applications I played around with was Paint. So I think Paint was actually the application that made me kind of want to be an artist in the first place,
Oh,
drawing. So I think I picked up design at first, but I didn't really take it too far initially. And I think I now delved into development first. So like development was what I first like grew in a lot before I started saying, okay, I think I need to take design more seriously. So yeah, I think I took design first.
Yeah, I can testify to this because I mean, John used to be a programmer for a long time, for the longest time before we used to tell him, okay, John, help us do this logo or do this design. And John would do it. And I'm like, John, you should go into design because you're very good. You get. There are some things that people don't know they are good at until they try. So, yeah, I think it's really cool. So, I have a very big question. What is your biggest tech story? I mean, most developers have a particular story that kind of like translate into what made them developers. To get like the single biggest point in your life that you realized or you decided that I would like to go deep into tech, right? So, what's the biggest tech story?
For me, I think my biggest tech story would actually be at the beginning on how I started. So going into university, I chose my course based on the fact that I wanted to learn how to make games. Funny, but I think my first year in school, I didn't really know exactly how I was going to end up in a few years' time or what I was going to be doing. But then I think I was fortunate enough to find myself in a group of people that kind of had this knowledge already. And at first, I was attending some like stuff like meetups just because my friends did. And I think one thing that pulled me to it was the culture of the tech system. It was
The
different. It
Techosystem.
was different from any
This is the
other.
last time I'm going to correct you.
The tech system. It was different from maybe any other field I've looked into. Like they all felt kind of, I wouldn't say structure is a bad thing, but they kind of as if they didn't have any kind of freedom for you to like express yourself. But there are other fields like that, but tech was also one of those systems. So that kind of drew me into becoming and into joining the Techosystem. Thanks for the correction.
Good, good.
Um, in terms of front end engineering, I think that's even a kind of funnier story because how it started was I would have been major on maybe back end technologies, but as of the time, all my friends were back end engineers, and like we always had these inside jokes that, oh, we don't have front end engineering friends, our front end is bad, we can't design, blah blah blah. And I think I kind of like took it on myself to say, oh, we are not going to be in this situation again. If we had anything to work on, there will be a front end engineer on that team, and I would be that person. And that's how I kind of focused on front end engineering in the Techosystem. I think one thing that really kicked off my career in that part was also because after I said I was going to make that decision, we had this meetup in school, and there was an engineer from Andela Kingdom, and then he talked about React. React is a front end framework, but I don't think we'll get into front end frameworks in this episode because that's a whole other story on its own. But funny thing was, at the time, I didn't know what it was, but I just loved how the front end was structured. I loved the work that went into it. And like I became very interested and said, oh, I think this is something I want to do for a very long time. So I think that was the day I picked up React and said, okay, I was going to learn this. And ever since then, it has been constant growth, internships, working in different companies, side projects. It has been fun actually.
Ah, it has been funds. Yeah.
I
has been funds. Do give away, Sha. Yeah, so that's really cool. That was like really, really cool. I mean, I don't think my own tech story was this glamorous, but yeah.
That's a lie. Why you lying? Stop lying. Stop lying. Hey, John, I have a question. I think I usually see this argument on Twitter is where they fight a lot, yeah. So I
as
can't really
usual.
say maybe it happens elsewhere, but like on Twitter, they actually fight a lot. It's either design Twitter is fighting today or tech Twitter, dev Twitter is fighting tomorrow. People said the most peaceful people on Twitter are mobile developers, but that's a story for another day. Okay, this was an argument one time, and it was should designers learn how to code because you do design and you're also a developer, right? You do front end engineering at Busha, and I'm very sure you do really awesome work because I've seen some of the stuff you've done. So the argument was the designers learn how to code. There are some people all they know is design, and when they just design for designing's sake. Like they don't even know what goes into it. At least some designers at least should know from maybe basic HTML and CSS. I want to ask about your take on that. Like, what do you think about that? And do you think knowing how to code has made you a better designer, or knowing how to design has made you? How does that work? How do they intertwine with each other?
Okay, so this is my opinion, honestly. I think the biggest reason for that argument is because there are some times that some designers may design some user interface or user experience that is not practicable. Like if you are into development, you know that some things they are possible to do, but at the end of the day, when it comes out, it's not usable.
Mm,
And there are some designs that are like that. I think that's what mainly causes the argument. But I
mm,
wouldn't say as a designer you must learn how to code. I would say you must understand how an application should work or what kind of user experience would be doable and like be usable when it's done at the end
mm,
of the day.
mm,
I think that not having that knowledge would probably make you a bad designer if you are designing software
mm,
because if you don't know how it's supposed to work or what's the best way for it to work, you will just design and say, oh, it looks great,
mm.
but does it work well?
Yeah. Oh wow.
So I think so. The other question you asked about being a developer, has that
Yeah.
made me a better designer?
Yeah.
I'm still growing in design. So like
Okay.
I won't say I'm a great designer yet, but I would say being a developer has helped me gain an understanding on okay, if I'm designing this interface, I have developed before, is this going to be usable? So
Okay.
like the knowledge from my development comes into play when I'm designing. I think it applies to like a lot of designers that were previously developers.
Mm,
They've developed applications, they know what is going to be usable, so they would know how to design better. But I don't think it's a must for you to learn how to code for you to be a great designer. But you must know how well or what kind of application is going to be usable, because at the end of the day, the design is not for yourself, it's for people to use
Mm.
and also for people to develop. So if it's not going to be practicable or usable, then it's probably not a good design.
Yeah. Thanks, man. So usability is key in a lot of designs. That's just
Yeah.
the sort.
But I also have a question. Some people will have the opinion from what you just said that if to learn how to code means for you to know the limits of design, then it means that you're kind of like limiting yourself as a designer, meaning you may not be ambitious in terms of whatever you want to design. What would you say to those people?
Okay, so like I mentioned, my statements were my opinion, but I would say at the point we are still developing in like the community, both in both design and development, and like there are new what's the word I would use? There are still things to be figured out. So yeah, it's true. I think sometimes most of those designs might eventually become something that might be usable in the future. But at the same time, you can't move faster than the users can take at a time. It's like, I don't know, okay, kind of out of context here. I don't know if you guys have if any of you guys have watched the series Silicon Valley. I think my favorite thing about the series is it kind of brings a lot of things that are actually happening in the tech system into like the series. So like it's very realistic. And if you notice, one of the products they built was something that the engineers were like, oh, this is so advanced, this is so cool. But at the end of the day, they gave it to users, and users were scared of using it. Users did
Mm,
not understand it.
true.
So that's why sometimes when designing, you also have to consider the fact that, oh, is this too advanced for like people to use at this point in time?
Yeah.
So I think people should actually break the limits, but at the same time, they should try and keep users up to pace with what they're doing. The main thing about I think the main thing about design and development at the end of the day is still your users. So if it's something your users are not going to be able to use at that point, then it's probably not right at that point in time.
Okay. I think that answers it very beautifully. Yeah. So in Nigeria, how good do you think our design is so far compared to other countries, other developed countries like US and the likes?
Um, I think we're doing pretty good. It's still maybe not up to level of be some other countries, but we could say that in some other countries, like they have bigger companies with much more experience than us. So we
True.
are
True.
still learning from them, but it's a work in progress that is actually like it's going pretty fast. So we're doing pretty good in Nigeria. We still have some way to go, but we're doing well with our growth.
Yeah, that's yeah, cool.
All right. I want to ask you something. John. So do you do any sort of design at work at all?
Um so my actual 9 to 5,
Yeah.
no, I actually don't work on the design team, but
Okay.
I have a couple of like side projects at the
Yeah.
moment that
Yeah.
I'm active in design.
Okay. Okay. But
So yeah,
I'm talking about 9 to 5. Like work your work at Busha. Do you do any design at all when it comes to
no,
this?
I don't design, but I work with the designers. So
Oh,
there are
okay.
sometimes maybe there might be like some designs and I feel is not practicable or might not work out. So I give
Okay.
feedback to designers that say, okay, I feel this should be changed. I feel
Okay.
this should be done.
Okay.
And yeah, I work a lot with them, but I'm not major on the
Okay.
design team.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Like, since you don't do any design per se, but you are a designer, if sometimes you look at some of the designs and you're just like, oh no, 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 let's do it this way. Like, do you think because I know designers, I say a lot of memes about designers maybe getting offended when someone that really doesn't design starts giving them feedback on their work. They're like, oh my god, you know what? Take it, can't design it yourself, something like that. Do you understand? So I want to know, like, if you give feedback like that to the designers at work, how's the response like? Are they like, oh my, this guy has come again? Or are they like, oh yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, we're just gonna change that color right there and move it behind. So like, how's the response like most of the time?
Um, I think the response might be based on the reasons you are giving for changing something. So like
Okay.
I can't just there are some designs I might not like personally, like it doesn't fit my eye, but it works and other people like it. So like you have to stick with it.
Mm,
So I think giving feedback for a design is not just based on its looks. It's most of my changes will be okay, how is it actually going to work
mm,
for a user. So like most of my feedback is based on that. So it's not just, oh, I want this to be blue. No, that's just how it looks. And to be honest, look sometimes is not really opinionated. Like different people have different views on like how something should look.
yeah.
But most of the time, if something works, it's better than it's like I'll give an example from maybe a bigger company like Facebook.
Yeah.
For a very, very long time before that recent design change, people were like, oh, this is a very old design. Like, why hasn't Facebook changed this? But the people never really asked themselves that, oh, this design has actually worked for a very long time. You see, you know how easy it is for just about anyone to create a Facebook account and use it without having any problems.
Mm.
So the design actually worked, but to some people it didn't look good. So that wasn't a reason for them to not change immediately. They had to wait for time to like really prepare how the next design will look like, so it will work even better than what like the previous one or how well the previous one worked.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense a lot. Okay, so um, to make things a little bit fun, I think everyone has been so serious. Okay, so tell us a joke, like a joke that designers can relate to.
Oh damn, I should have prepared for this. I'm not good at jokes. Uh
The person even asking you to tell a joke is terrible at jokes, and he knows it.
Look at this one.
oh my god.
I'm the
Uh
funniest person on this episode. Okay,
Nah,
that's wrong.
man, nah. Come on, come on.
huh. I'll be very honest with you. I don't think I have any jokes in
Hey,
mind right
let
now.
me break the ice. Let me break the ice a little bit. Let me break the ice a little bit. If you choose to never code again or never design again, which one would you prefer?
Hmm. Never code again or never
Or
design
never
again.
design again, ever, ever again.
Wow, this that's a bit tough one. Um can I cheat a bit? Is the design limited to some fields of design or every
No,
form of design?
it's just like you are never going to ever touch another design tool again. That's if you are to never design again. You're never going to touch any design tool again, no matter what it is. And in fact, you're never even going to draw or whatever. But if it was code, you're never going to touch another IDE or text editor or any language. You're never going to pick up any documentation, anything related to code. You're not going to do it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, that's tough. But let me see the pros and cons on each side. If I were to never code again, it would mean I would have ideas that I could never bring to life.
Yes, you would
But
never be able to implement it. Never ever. You will just
if
design it and it will sit on your laptop forever. No, nobody will ever be able to code it. It will just be the design. That's all.
if I were to never design again, but if I were to code, that means I could bring ideas to life, but I could never initiate them myself. Um, I think I would go with never design again because
Oh
Oops.
man. Oh, designers listening to this. I'm sorry, but your boy just betrayed you, threw you under the bus.
I think I would go with never design again
Uh,
because I feel um just having an idea is not enough. Like bringing that idea
Oops.
to life, bring it. No, not taking a shot at designers or anything. Like they do a very
it's
important
too
job.
late, bro. It's too
Like
late, bro.
without
They're
them,
at your
I'll
house
do
right
the
now.
impossible. But I think I would prefer to like at least code instead of if I were
Mm.
to drop one, I think I would drop design to at least bring other people's. If I can't bring my own to life, I'll bring other people's ideas to life. So,
Hmm.
Do you think design is easier than coding?
um,
Don't fall for the trap, bro.
no, I don't think I'm answering that.
Come
I don't
on,
think they
man.
are
Come
they are
on, man.
both they are both equally difficult. So yeah, I'm going to stick with that.
A designer once told me that design is harder than coding, and I didn't know how to feel because I know there's a lot that goes into design, but in fact that day was just so weird. So I was like, do you think you guys are actually doing any work? Okay, and this is another good thing about the person that told me this. He's also a developer, like he also codes. So he just told me that, yo, bro, let me just tell you right now, design is harder, is more difficult than coding. Forget all these at NBSP that are writing. Like, you design is way harder. So like you are a person that also designs and codes. So I would actually really love to have get your take on this one. But if you don't want to
Uh,
answer, no pressure, no pressure, no pressure. I will make sure our listeners hit you up with a question. We'll put John's email in the show notes and the
okay.
social media handle.
How can I answer this? Okay. I think it all boils down to what a person's capability is.
Mm,
Some people find designing easier, and they might look at the developer's job and say, "Oh, this is very difficult, and
mm,
design is very easy."
mm,
But it's just mainly because you find design easier to do.
mm,
It's like um, it's like saying LeBron should play football. LeBron isn't like a natural born footballer, and
mm.
soccer. Let me use the word soccer because using
Because
the
of
word
our
football in
international
America
audience.
causes another fight that I don't want to be part of. So it's like
Okay.
saying LeBron should play soccer, but
Mm,
he's not good at soccer. So he's going to say, "Oh, soccer is very difficult," but
mm,
give him basketball and like he's having a field day. So I
mm,
think it all boils down to what you are capable of,
mm.
what you find exciting, and like what you find easier to do.
LeBron is a basketballer.
Yeah, and LeBron is a basketballer. Just to be
Just
clear.
for those that don't know. I don't know why
Yeah.
you don't know. I think I have a take on this. What I would say, so I think over the years I've grown as a developer and as a tech person, I guess. So like maybe 3 years ago, the answer I would have given to this would have been different. What I'll give to this today is different. What I'll give next maybe 10 years will be different. So I think based on experience, I think it's only experienced people that can really give the answer.
Mm,
I've tried design, I've tried front end. I've done front end, a lot of front end. Uh, Currently, I'm purely back end. I don't need to do front end again. So my answer is this: every aspect is solving a problem. Every aspect of tech is solving a type of problem, right?
mm,
Design is solving a problem. Front end is solving a problem. Back end is solving a problem, right? So if you see it that way, it gives you a clarity such that, are you good at solving the design problem? If so, then design is easier for you. Are you good at solving backend problems? So backend problems will range from processing files, processing data,
mm,
giving response to requests.
mm,
Are you good at thinking logically? Do you get? So I think that way people miss it. People always feel there should always be a best something.
mm,
Like the way everybody naturally says, oh, this person is better than this person,
mm,
comparing every time. So I think
mm,
it's easier to think of it that way. Design is solving a problem of creating something or giving an idea, while front end is basically solving a problem of putting something to life, an
mm,
idea, bringing it to life.
mm.
Back end, let's not talk about back end. But yeah, so that's how I see it. And I think if people see it that way, they would just rest and just be calming down.
Mm.
Okay, so like we promised, we have one last question for you. Um, so this is the question. So you're a designer, you're a developer, right? We're going towards the design side. So there are so many design tools out there. Which design tool are you going to eliminate from the surface of the earth forever, and why?
Oh my god. Uh, I don't think there's any good. I don't think there's any good answer that wouldn't put me into trouble in this case.
Designers, get
Um.
ready to consume.
Okay. I think I'm going to make it easy on myself and say paint can be considered as a design tool.
Imagine.
So yeah, paint should go.
Imagine, that's so
This
disappointing.
guy
Paint should
obviously
go.
cheated. He obviously cheated.
He has
But
cheated. He has
we're just
cheated.
going to let him go. We're just going to let him
We're
go.
gonna let it slide.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
All right. All right. So we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I hope you guys learned a lot about design and development. Thank you also, John, for showing up. We really appreciate. your
Thanks,
presence
man.
on the episode.
Thanks
You're
for having
awesome.
me.
Yeah. So you guys can reach out to John anything about design and development. And if you ask him how to use paint, you can ask him on his Twitter. His handle is John underscore Ayeni.
No, John Ayeni underscore.
Okay. So we'll put his Twitter profile on the show notes and you guys can reach out to him. All right. Thank you guys again for listening. Remember, we release a new episode every other Wednesday. You can listen to this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcasts. Thank you once again. See you in the next one.